Today's postcard is alive with British history and heritage. It's from the Tower of London.
You're nicked.
It's a fair cop. It was in 1078 that William the Conqueror decided he wanted to build the Tower of London, although it probably wasn't called that then, but it was certainly called the White Tower, which is where it all began, just behind me.
Now, you might not know this, but the Tower of London is actually in the county of Middlesex, as it's just outside the city itself. A palace and fortress for over 900 years, much is known of the tower's bloody history, and it is renowned worldwide as a royal prison and home to some of the most famous diamonds on Earth. There is more to the tower, however, than just a state prison and jewellery box. At different times in its past, the tower has been home to the Royal Arsenal, Royal Mint, Royal Observatory, and even the Royal Zoo. Its first tour of duty, however, was as a royal palace, fortress and home to the new monarch William the Conqueror, he of the Battle of Hastings. The tower originally formed part of the Roman settlement of Londinium, but its known royal history begins with William in 1066, when the new monarch ordered the building of a wooden castle as part of the fortifications to help secure London, the chief city of his new kingdom. 10 years on, the king transformed the fort into a great stone fortified palace with walls 15 feet thick, which was then known as the Tower of London. 900 years later, that original fort is now the White Tower, but the fortress, much enlarged over the preceding centuries, still dominates London, covering some 18 acres and containing often unique glimpses of royal history stretching way back. The tower, or palace, is made up of a group of buildings which include St Thomas's Tower, the Wakefield Tower and the Lanthorn Tower. It was begun by Henry III in 1220 and subsequently enlarged by his son Edward I, who created a new water gate which enabled the monarch to enter the tower from the Thames. Now known as Traitor's Gate, it has since seen the arrival of many kings and queens, and not all of them were looking forward to their stay at the tower.
Tales of murder and mystery here at the Tower of London. In there, the Wakefield Tower is where King Henry VI was stabbed to death in the Wars of the Roses by, well, the same man who suffocated the princes here in the bloody tower. You know him, you got him, Richard III.
Stories of many prisoners suffering in deep dungeons and torture chambers are exaggerated, although the tower did occasionally find room for the king's enemies. In fact, Guy Fawkes was brought here to be tortured over his involvement in the gunpowder plot, and the last prisoner was Rudolf Hess, who stayed at the tower for 4 days awaiting his fate in 1941.
I found myself a 100% munching, fully proteined beef eater. And his name's Mick Casson. Mick, beef eaters, where'd they get their name from?
They say it's because in the reign of Henry VIII we were paid in beef from the royal table. A rich commodity which we obviously thoroughly enjoyed.
And why are you only at the Tower of London and nowhere else?
We are warders. The full title is Yeoman Warders. Yeoman, freemen. We owe allegiance only to the Queen, and we ward the tower. So by the very nature of the name, we are here at the tower.
And Gilbert and Sullivan, of course.
And Gilbert and Sullivan, yeah.
Yeoman of the Guard.
We've got them on next year here, apparently, so...
And what do you eat?
Sausage, egg, bacon, and occasionally beef.
Thanks, Mick.
Now, Bazza, tomorrow I want 6 extra pints. Oh, and yoghurts. We're having a bit of a beef eater's bash. All right, then. See you tomorrow, then, Reg. Watch out for them ravens on your way round back to Bloomsbury, Bazza. All right, then. See ya. Cheerio. Whoops, he's got a little bottle. Legend has it that when the Royal Observatory was housed in the White Tower, the Astronomer Royal complained to Charles II that the birds were interfering with his observations. The king therefore ordered their destruction, only to be told if the ravens left the tower, the White Tower would fall and a great disaster would befall the kingdom. Sensibly, the king changed his mind and decreed that at least 6 ravens should be kept at the tower always to prevent disaster. Prisoners at the tower are expected to pay their way. Fees payable to the constable or lieutenant of the tower for the suit of his irons, being shackled in the tower, range from £20 a year for a duke to £5 a year for a knight. This, however, did not even cover food and accommodation, for which prisoners of the rank of knight and above were required to pay generously. What a way to go.
And this is where Anne Boleyn met her doom. She, in fact, was executed by a French swordsman. He was brought over all the way from France because she had such a slender neck. She didn't want the axe, so she had a sword. And this place of execution was only for the nobility, so very few people were actually executed here, apart from Queen